Джек, мы едем к тебе в гости. Готовься, будем брать у тебя интервью.
Look, the world is becoming more and more competitive.
And the competition doesn't mind, but they don't know probably what to do when they export their goods. They cannot know.
If you can get by with just who you know, fine. That's the old world. But what's happening all around the world is essentially people are beginning to understand that it's a competitive world. And that's what the global economy is all about. You have competition. And what I'm about is teaching people how to operate and cope with competition. And that's what I'm about. Now, if you happen to be a little time capsule and nothing is changing and you don't figure it'll change in 20 years, yeah, I probably shouldn't come. But that's not the way the world is going right now. It is becoming a more and more competitive place.
Even in Kazakhstan?
Anywhere around the globe. I've been in Sri Lanka. I've been in places where you'd say, my goodness, and yet that's what's happening.
Why is your first visit is important to Kazakhstan and other neighboring countries that they are new in the Asia that is growing upwards?
When I go into a new place, who's not really been exposed to me, what I'm bringing to that country or to that area is a deeper understanding of marketing. In other words, if I have to get into the world of marketing, whether I'm selling products, whether I'm selling the country itself, whatever I'm selling, I have to understand what marketing is all about. And that's really what my visit to a place like that is all about, giving people a deeper understanding of what it is to go out and sell whatever they have to sell. So it's step one. Come to Kazakhstan or any part of the world that has not really been exposed to strategy and marketing, it's very important. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the learning process. When I come to a place like a new place, it's all about, welcome to the world. Positioning is the foundation for strategy. It is the basis for how you compete, how you deal with change, and how you market in a world that's been hit by this financial crisis. It's probably more important today than it was when I wrote the book in 1980. These are projects or things that I've worked on, some observations I'm going to make about other companies and what they're doing here. So I would say that you'll be able to revisit a lot of the important principles. I'll be talking about repositioning, which is a new book of mine, which deals with how do you market really in a world of competition, change, and crisis. And I've Russianized it a little bit, so you'll have a little bit.
We have lots of companies from Russian region. They are middle company or small business. Can they use your technique, your way, positioning in their development? Yeah, absolutely. Look, the body of work that I have developed over these years is good for big companies, it's good for small companies, it's even good for tiny companies. In other words, the principles can be applied to just about any kind of business that you're in. The difference between the big companies is they have bigger problems. They have bigger competitors and they have lots of money. Smaller companies have to deal with less resources. But the principles that I talk about are universal. They cut across all categories, whether it's from computers to caskets, as I like to say. I'm going to spend in the presentation a fair amount of time on how you position yourself from a tourism point of view. It's very important because in today's global economy, which is under some pressure, tourism is probably one of the quickest ways to earn money for a country. And I think the better you are at it, the healthier you're going to be. So, and I think that's critical, especially for new areas, new regions that have not really introduced themselves to their marketplace, so to speak.
One of the interesting case studies I'll talk about is in Spain, how they have to change reposition themselves from just being sun and beaches to a broader position, because they're getting a lot of new competition from other places in the Mediterranean, which have sun and beaches and are cheaper. So, you know, tourism is becoming a very competitive way to earn money for countries, so it's very important.
Still one question on this topic. Why it's important for majors and regional heads to understand it, and also related questions, how do you think if any region or city can invent or do something to be successful in this case?
Well, selling a region is like selling a product. You're just going to have to figure out what you have to sell and what you have to do to attract business, or in this case, you know, either investment or tourists. You have to treat a country or a region like a marketing problem. One of the things I'm going to talk about in my presentation when I come to Russia is what I call the tale of two countries. I find that there's an interesting parallel between what's happening in China and what's happening in Russia. Both countries are really trying to become more market-oriented. Obviously, they're different places with different cultures. But I saw a very interesting parallel in that I think that the Chinese are really aggressively pursuing positioning and repositioning. And I think are using it as the foundation upon which to build new brands, whether it's domestically or internationally. And they're way ahead of Russia, who is not, from my experiences, so I think I'm going to draw that parallel between these two countries. And I think the people in Russia will find this very interesting to see what the Chinese are doing right and they're doing wrong. That's going to be the main comparison. I can certainly talk about other countries, India and other places where I spend a lot of time. But I really think the parallel between Russia